Georgia's best defensive player in 2024 was Jalon Walker, linebacker slash edge. On today's episode, I am going to detail how big of an impact he can have on an NFL defense as a rookie in 2025. That and more coming up next.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast covering your favorite draft prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your boy, Damian Parson. I am an offensive draft analyst over with Bleacher Report. And guys, thank you so much for making this podcast, the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast, being our everydayers. On today's show, we have a fun show, getting into and scouting linebacker slash edge Jalon Walker. James Pearce Jr. for Tennessee is a pressure player that we need to give more love to, and Isaiah Bond's value to an NFL offense through the 2025 NFL Draft. But before we get into that, today's episode has been brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 back in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Jalon Walker for the University of Georgia, those Georgia Bulldogs. He was their best defensive player in 2024. Young man turns 21 years old this month. His birthday's on the 24th. So his birthday will be coming up within the next, week or so and everything. I think next week sometime. Guys, listed at 6'2", 245 pounds, strong, well-proportioned frame. Is what Jalon Walker brings to a defense. This guy that plays both off-ball backer and edge. And when you look at what he brings to the table, he can be a high-impact playmaker for an NFL defense after he is selected because of that versatility. When you talk about what he does well, to me, it's instincts, right? On first and second downs, as a run defender, the instincts are there. The ability to read and diagnose blocking concepts and schemes, you know what I mean? Playing off-ball backer, he shoots gaps and replaces interior offensive linemen. So you're talking about pin-pull concepts. You want to run some counter, things of that nature. That backside guard, that's his primary run gap, responsibility. He does an outstanding job attacking that gap, knifing into the backfield, and basically blowing plays up before they really get started, because counter plays and pin pull action can be a little slow developing depending on what type of offensive lineman you actually have. When you talk about athleticism, if those guys aren't like upper echelon athletes to get on their high horse, right? Or if some colleges especially run through the skip pull, where they kind of do the little skip, crossing of the feet and everything, instead of just like opening an L step and then working right down the line of scrimmage, they kind of kill some time, right? They lose a little bit of timing there. But I think with him, he's got really good instincts. He finds the ball extremely well in the run game. Again, he knows how to knife into the backfield. He's a strong alley player. He knows how to shock and shed, right? Talking about shooting his hands, using his arm length to shock those interior offensive linemen, those guards and centers. When his punches are on time, he can separate, keep those guys from latching their hands, and then that lets him shed and make a play on the running back, on the ball carrier. So in the run game, you see that with him. He also is pretty solid setting the edge. When he's on the edge and he's defending the run, he's got him. I would say that's where the timing is going to be paramount for him, so that he can be able to battle on time and play as quickly and as fast as he needs to. Jalon Walker, on the passing situations this season, 7 sacks, 5 QB hits, 22 pressures. He finished the season with a pass rush win rate of 17%. On true drop back sets and true pass sets, the pressure he was able to create, 4 of his 7 sacks, 2 of his 5 QB hits, and 12 of his 22 hurries and pressures came on true pass sets, true drop back sets. His pass rush win rate in those situations went to 18.5. I did a breakdown of him on my YouTube channel at the Scouting Room, so go check that out, guys. Whenever you guys get a chance. But yeah, at the Scouting Room on YouTube. But his game as a pass rusher, he is a power player. Long arm, speed to power, bull rushes, not snatch trap, like, because snatch trap is more with the offensive line. He get the defensive line has their version of snatch trap is the push pull. He has a really strong push pull where he can convert speed to power, sell the power, and then yank and pull a offensive lineman forward. He did that against Texas. I believe it was Kelvin Banks, put him on his face once or twice. He knows how to use that. He has that long arm ability, but also as a pass rusher, he wears number 11. And anytime you see number 11, you see a guy playing off-ball backer that can rush the passer. Micah Parsons' name is invoked. But I remember watching Micah Parsons lined up, head up on the center, standing up as a blitzer, one-on-one with the center, and it was a club swim, club long arm rover. Easy money. And he got to the backfield, made a play on the quarterback. Watching, like I said, on the tape, watching the tape, Jalon Walker, same thing. He had that same move. He's lined up with head on, one-on-one with the center. I believe it might have been against, I believe he did it against Notre Dame. And I believe he also did it against Alabama, where he was on the guard this time. Guard tries to get his hands lashed, tries to be super physical. He clubs, long arm over, and he gets a hit on Jalen Milroe. Jalen Milroe, has a quick release. He gets the ball. He got the ball out of his hand quickly enough before Jalon Walker was able to make the sack, or potentially causing an interception. But nonetheless, like, Jalon Walker can be like, he relies a lot on power, but he showcases some flashes of the finesse. Where I think he can improve as a pass rusher is adding more finesse moves, double hand swipes. You know what I mean? Does he have the flexibility, the ankle flexion, the hip fluidity to run the arc? We'll see that more than likely at the combine if he does all of the field drills when they do the figure eight, the loop drill, where you got to run and bend and pick the beanbag up, stay on a bended track and drop it opposite of the hoop, and then run the other hoop, grab the beanbag on that side, run it around, drop it, and then finish the drill and make, and close the drill out. Can he do that? We'll see. I think there's flashes of his flexibility, but he just doesn't showcase it enough. He is a through the chest, through the face mask type of rusher. And I think when it's effective, but you have to have counters, and that's where he needs to improve. I think his side on the sideline range is good. I think he's talented. I think he's a coverage spot dropper in coverage and zone coverage. He gets to his landmarks and everything. I don't think this is a guy you're going to do a lot with in terms of man-to-man coverage as much, right? This, like, Barrett Carter to me is a superior man-to-man guy. I think Barrett's also a little bit more fluid of an athlete than Jalon Walker is. But that's also why you see a lot of people now starting to lean towards Jalon Walker being a full-time edge. And I'm not against it, guys. Like, especially if you're a defense that runs an odd front, right? 3-4, things of that nature. Now, if you run an even front, and so he'll be one of your backers, right? He'd probably be like your Will or your Sam, whatever. Probably your Sam. So then if you run like a 4-3 over, and he walks up on the line of scrimmage as like that fifth man on the line of scrimmage, now you got the weak side, and you got the other outside linebacker could be the weak side, and the middle linebacker. Those two guys are, the outside linebacker shifts down and reduces down, and now he's inside. So he's got two interior linebackers or whatever, middle linebackers essentially, and he's up on the line of scrimmage. You get him up against tight ends, he's going to be able to really be effective as a run defender, setting the edge, things like that against tight ends. And of course, if it's a passing situation, he's going to shed most tight ends. You know what I mean? Like Travis Kelce's and Mike Gesicki's and Brock Bowers, like high-level pass catchers type of guys, right? Yeah, Jalon Walker's tossing those guys to the ground. He's shedding them, getting rid of them. So I think Jalon Walker's a first-round prospect. He is an impact player, and he's going to make an impact. The cons, the pros are there. The cons are there. Some of the cons are things that you could teach. I'm betting on those traits. I can get you with an off-season like pass rush coach like BT Jordan, Coach Ed, who works with Latu Latu, Khalil Mack, and all these other guys. Like, you can get with one of those guys and improve your punch timing, your hand counters. You can improve all of that, guys. So that's how I look at it personally. I don't look at it as a situation where it's like, well, he doesn't have all of the tools in the bag. No, he's fine. You can teach those things. What you can't teach is the Tasmanian devil energy and the play style. You can't teach that motor. You can't teach that speed to power conversion and the ability to just never stop working upfield. You can't teach that. Give me Jalon Walker round 1 as one of my top 3 to 4 edge rushers in the 2025 NFL draft. I'm sorry, but guys, coming up next, talking about 2025 NFL draft, James Pearce Jr., one of the best pressure players at the edge position in the 2025 NFL draft. We're going to get into his game and talk about it coming up next. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on said action than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game. So even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay within the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. I love using FanDuel's live betting feature because it keeps every moment of the game exciting. Whether I'm backing my team, the Detroit Pistons, for a late game rally in the Eastern Conference, or picking our star player and all-star Cade Cunningham to hit a late clutch 3, I never feel like I've missed my chance. Plus, the app is super easy to use, and when you win, you get paid instantly. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 back in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. James Pearce Jr. seems to be one of the more disrespected edge rushers and defenders in the 2025 NFL draft. 6'4", 245 pounds, long arms, long legs and torso. Guys, I know, like last year, coming off of summer scouting, right? 2023, he had 13 sacks, 11 QB hits, 28 pressures, right? 2 forced fumbles, all of that. Great. Everybody was hyped. They loved him. They were like, man, he's going to be a top 10 pick. Then we get to 2024. Slow start, but he picked it up from midseason to end. He closed it out pretty well, if you ask me. And he finished with 8 sacks, 4 QB hits, 43 pressures, and 1 forced fumble. He is better than the numbers say. One thing I appreciate with him, when you talk about what he brings to the table, first step quickness, outside ability to win the outside shoulder, and he's evolved his ability to work the inside track. He's not just an outside pass rusher anymore. This is a guy that uses that first step quickness to sell the outside rush, just to Euro step his way to the basket, Euro step his way cross face and work back inside. Because when you have a first step like he does, like some of these other guys, Abdul Karch, when you have that explosive dynamic first step, you put those tackles in a predicament where they have to get out quick. So either they're going to quick set you, jump set you, or they're going to get off the ball and they're going to immediately get deep into their drop in a vertical or diagonal drop. So if they're dropping either vertical or diagonal, now you have a pass rusher who can take advantage of that, because now I can win with a two-way release like a receiver. And that's the best place. When your skill set forces tackles off onto an island, that's what you want. You want to get them away from that bumper. Interior offensive linemen or just their partners, really, we call them bumpers, right? Like bumper cars. Because if you work inside, you're liable to get bumped with the shoulder or with the elbow to the ribs or to the shoulder pad and lay you out. Okay? So when you put that guy on a deserted island one-on-one, now you have more space, especially if you got the wide down alignment. So his ability to get back into the backfield in terms of James Pearce Jr., 6'5", 245 pounds out of Tennessee. I go back to that Georgia game, man. You know, he was so dominant as a pass rusher in that game. Like, he won multiple times, and he should have had 2 or 3 sacks in that game alone, right? But I think he got held once or twice, so he forced offensive holding penalties. But also, Carson Beck was a little bit more nimble than he expected. He got out of harm's way and got out of the pocket, broke contain, and got the ball out. But that's what I think. He's also really good in terms of James Pearce on the twist and stunts. Those creative defensive lines that like to use games. Yes, And I'm going to tell you a team that we do not need him to fall to, and that's the Philadelphia Eagles. Like, they're going to lose Josh Sweat. They're going to lose Milton Williams, right? What you don't want is for him to fall all the way down the board because teams are getting cute on James Pearce Jr. out of Tennessee and say, you know what? I'll wait. We'll get him the second round. And then the Philadelphia Eagles and Howie Roseman said, we just won the Super Bowl in convincing fashion. How about we keep that going? How about we hit the repeat button? How about we keep building it, baby? We do that by adding good players. Just draft good players. Draft good prospects, man. Simple. Draft them. And you've seen it with Nolan Smith. And now you have two fastballs off the edge and everything. Now, you're talking about the drawback when it comes down to James Pearce Jr. Again, being a little bit light in the frame. James Pearce Jr. is like, he just turned 21 back in October. So this is a young guy. This is not a fully developed player. He's young. And, and for him, there's just some reps against the run you want to see improve with him. Like, I think he played the run a little bit better this year, for sure, better than last year, in my own opinion. But I think depending on the team, because certain teams have certain requirements, right? Like, the Indianapolis Colts don't want their tight ends to be small, like in terms of weight. They want guys to be 240 and up, from what I was told. So if that's the case, like, they might have, if they draft a certain guy, hey, we might need to bulk you up, right? We might need to bulk you up. And that's fine if that's the case. So for me, when I look at it, I say, yeah, like, that's where I want to go. I look at it from the aspect of James Pearce Jr., depending on where he lands, he might be asked, okay, say he comes in at 240. We want to get you up to 250. We want a Brian Burns. You want to get you up to like 250, because I believe Brian Burns is at 250 now. I don't believe he came into the league at 250, but I believe he's at 250 now. But again, you're gonna want to bulk him up just a tad. Yeah. Brian Burns 6'5", 250, and that's my comp for him. Now, that's my comp for him. It's been my comp since the summer. If you've been an everydayer, okay, if you have been an everydayer, and if you haven't been, stick with us, man. Stick with us. Don't leave. Stick with us. But no, nonetheless, I that's how I look at it. I always viewed him. Yes, Brian Burns coming out of college was 6'5", 249. So, but you could tell he was still slim. He was a slim guy. So it's like, okay, 250 with a more filled-in frame looks a lot different than 250 with 249, 245 with the slender frame. So I think he could add a little bit more. If he's 240, 245, get him up to 250, 252, somewhere in there. That way, with his long arms, with his frame, you add that muscle, that functional strength, and that's going to really be able to help him. I think also what you want to do is have that good D-line coach that puts a lot of onus on him to continue to add to his bag, right? The only time you can't have too many things in your bag is going through TSA. That's it. All right. That's it, baby. You go through TSA, you got too many things in there. Yeah, some stuff coming out. All right. Some stuff coming out. Okay, your bag's too big. It's too many items in here, sir. Like, that's it. That's the only time you really feel like I can't have everything I'm supposed to have in my bag. But in the NFL, you can have that bag, and you can, matter of fact, you can grow your bag so much as a pass rusher where the original bag was too small. Now you got to upgrade. I got to get a bigger bag for all the moves that I have and all the tools that I added to my tool belt. Yes, I think he can improve with his hand placement, with the different hand counters, the double swipe outside, double swipe inside, club rip, all different. He can add some more of that to his game. He's not a finished product, and that's why I'm excited about James Pearce Jr. because he's not a finished product, because I know what he can bring to the table. This young man is talented, and you can tell me to you're blue in the face. DP, his sacks went down, his QB hits went down, his forced fumbles went down, but his pass rush win rate didn't. But his hurries improved, like, substantially. He was living in opposing teams' backfield. So again, if you have a creative defensive, we don't want him going to Kansas City to Spags. Okay, Spags will have absolutely light some teams up with the way he's able to really get after you with 4 or 5. So you're talking about blitzing, twisting, stunts, all that type of stuff. Yeah, Spags is the guy. But nonetheless, I think another team, the Baltimore Ravens, should absolutely be looking his way. You need to find a true pass rusher. There's multiple teams. The Atlanta Falcons, if he falls to you, run the card in, unless there's another edge rusher on the board that you feel comfortable with, not a project, but a guy that can come in and upgrade you, right? what Beyonce said, upgrade you. Yeah, that's what you want, to be upgraded. You had 30. I think you were like tied for 31st in league in sacks. Yeah, you need to fix that. But nonetheless, guys, James Pearce Jr. is to me a little bit disrespected, a little bit underrated, a little bit not as valued as he should. And I think people need to wake up and realize just how good of a player he really is. But guys, coming up next, we're going to close this thing out with Isaiah Bond. His value to an NFL offense. Is he Jalen Waddle 2.0? I'm going to tell you why I feel that way. Coming up next. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers. Texas wide receiver Isaiah Bond. This is a young man that is one of the fastest players in all of college football, and especially in the 2025. No, I'm going to start a little bit. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers. Texas wide receiver Isaiah Bond. This young man is dynamic. He is explosive. He is everything you want in a field stretching, manufactured touch wide receiver. Listed at 5'11", 180 pounds. The positives to his game: dynamic athlete, explosive burst and acceleration. Listen, if you don't get hands-on, he's one of the scarier guys in college football and in this draft at the receiver position. If you do not get hands-on, he is 100% going to blow past you as a defender. Okay, he's fluid, easy mover with clean route transitions. If you remember, I can't remember which game it was. Might have been Colorado State. They play early in the season where he's low red zone. He's on the outside as the X receiver. He runs with a speed release inside. Guy grabs him, is holding him, grabs his face mask. He runs a corner route, shook him at the top of the route. Real twitchy, explosive, boom, burst. He fixes his helmet and face mask mid-route and then catches the touchdown. Right. And it's just the ability to transition and create separation with his routes. To me, he's a good route runner, guys. And then, but you think about also that vertical speed, 100%, it's there. This is a guy that you put in the slot, you get that slot fade, you get the slot post, the skinny post against single high. And you're like, yeah, man, we do not want this. Play action, shot plays. This is one of those guys, man. And this is one of those guys that, hey, keep him away from Pat Mahomes. Keep him away from Mahomes, right? Keep him away from Josh Allen and Lamar Jacksons of the world, those elite quarterbacks, right? Those are the guys you don't want Isaiah Bond to fall to, because then they have the arm talent and their gravitational pull as quarterbacks is insurmountable. It's unreal how much defensive attention those guys command. So then when you're trying to stop them and you're blitzing Mahomes and you're trying to keep Lamar in the pocket and you're doing everything to stop Josh Allen, and then it's bombs away over the top, and you're like, man, what could we have done differently? Not let him draft him. But yes, that's the type of speed he brings, but also he's so dangerous after the catch because he turns into a runner immediately, and that suddenness, that burst, that explosiveness, that acceleration is there. So you talk about the orbit motion, the jet motion, the jet pop pass, different things of that nature, where you just get him the ball on the move into space. He is what we call a satellite player. He's a space player. He's going to navigate space. He's going to own it. And you get him in space, and then he catches the ball within stride, and you got to block. He just needs one or two. Just one or two. And that's what makes him so dangerous. He just needs one or two. Okay. And I think that's where he can hit the sideline. And once he hits the sideline, baby, it's usually a house call after that. Just being honest, man. But some of the negatives, some of the things that you look at, you're like, okay, hard to get over, right? The underwhelming play strength, right? When he's facing those physical long-arm defenders and corners, guys with length, you're going to have to deal with that at the next level. Right? Especially if you're going to play outside. And sometimes you play inside the slot, you're going to deal with some nickel corners that have good, 33s, 32 plus and all that type of stuff like that, that can punch from their base, from where they're aligned, just shoot a quick jab or two, throw off your timing, get hands-on to be physical. So he lacks the play strength you will want for him to live on the outside. I think if he's playing on the outside, he has to be a movement Z guy. Catch radius is limited. Like, he doesn't have an outstanding wingspan from the look of it, like for the eye test on tape. So you're talking about winning those contested catches. I don't believe he's converted many of those, especially this year. He was 3 of 11 this year, in those contested catch situations with Texas. All for his career, 31.6 contested catch percentage. He's only caught 6 of his 19 targets. Like, he struggles in that regard. And then also the frame, like, whether it's at the catch point, whether it is being physical after the run, or just as a play side run blocker. Like, he's like, this is not a guy you're going to expect a lot from physically. And when that rears its head, then there's some limitations. That's the main thing I was. There's some limitations. He, to me, is Jalon Walker. And I think we always talk about in this pod, me and Keith and I, about how Dylan Gabriel will be a great fit for Miami to give them a supplemental piece behind Tua. If Tua's hurt, you have a left-handed quarterback that can work the RPO, the quick game, get the ball out quick, and just be a point guard, right? Great. Well, I think it's the same thing for them. Jalon Walker has battled injuries in his career. And when he's healthy, what he brings, that explosiveness, that speed, that elite speed, right, to really hurt your defense. And I think with that situation, I just feel as if, okay, with that being said, yes, 100%. If you are in that spot and he's in the second round, I'm pulling the card up. If I'm Miami, I'm getting Isaiah Bond, because then I have Tyreek Hill, Isaiah Bond, and I have Jalon Walker. And if one of those guys get hurt or someone gets traded, I have someone that can do similar things. I think Isaiah Bond, the way Jalon Walker wins, the crossers, the slot verticals, different things of that nature, I believe Isaiah Bond can do the exact same things with a very similar speed profile. So for me, I do think that he's a day 2 prospect. I believe I have a mid kind of like bottom of the first half, second round grade on him. So mid second round grade on him on day 2. I think in the combine coming up in a couple of weeks, guys, I think next week, actually, man, February is flying by. The combine being next weekend. Yes, I do believe that he goes out there and runs sub 4.3. My God, his stock is going to raise. But then you got to get to the gauntlet drill, catch the ball, and do different things like that, because he's had some issues with that this year. Remember in the playoffs, I think was it the Georgia game? Yeah, I think it was the playoff game against Ohio State. He had to pass over the middle, and he just unnecessarily jumped for it in the middle of the field. And it's just like, why? I would call him Jalon Walker. Why Isaiah Bond? Why did you jump for that? I think this guy has big time playmaking ability, and we could fast forward 3-4 years from now, and people are like, man, I think he probably should, the way he's played his career, he probably should have went round 1. He's got that. He's got round 1 talent for sure. There's just some drawbacks physically that you can't really get over. That for certain teams he's not going to pass the threshold on, and for other teams he will. All it takes is one, guys. All it takes is one. But I do think he is Jalon Walker 2.0, big time playmaker, big time speed, big time acceleration that terrifies defenses and will back guys off the line of scrimmage if you don't have the foot speed and long speed to run with them. But guys, that is our show. Isaiah Bond's value to an NFL offense. Is he Jalon Walker 2.0? Yes. James Pearce Jr., a pressure player that does not get enough love in the 2025 NFL draft. And Jalon Walker, linebacker out of edge, scouted him and said, listen, first round player, can absolutely grow as a pass rusher. But thank you so much for tapping in with us and being our everydayers. Go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts, to get the latest episode as soon as it is available, guys. Come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.